Good evening and welcome to episode 13 of the Cambodia VR Project podcast. This is Tom Nickel. I'm speaking from Phnom Penh in the BKK1 neighborhood, the fashionable neighborhood. Fashionable is a relative concept, of course, when it comes to Phnom Penh, but, we'll leave it at that. I'm living here in YK Art House. Been here for, I guess, about a week and a half this time. This is my third time in a year coming to Cambodia, and I come here to informally work on a project. I'm retired now, and this is kind of my retirement passion project with a really wonderful arts organization headquartered in Phnom Penh called Cambodian Living Arts. The backstory is really just heartwarming and inspiring. As you may know, Cambodia experienced one of the worst imaginable genocides in modern history back in the 70s, and has been, I guess you could say in some ways, slowly recovering ever since. National trauma. One of the pathways, one of the sort of facilitators, whatever the right word is, along the way has been art, has been the recovery of traditional Cambodian art. And it is particularly relevant here because art was singled out for extinction. The Khmer Rouge, who were the kind of Maoist cultural revolutionary force in 1975 to 1979, singled out educated people and artists in particular to be killed because they were trying to establish an absolute control mechanism, and he realized that one way to undermine absolute control mechanisms by instilling a sense of creativity and the self-efficacy within individuals. That's what art can do, and that is inherently subversive. The Khmer Rouge understood that, and there were very few artists left that knew, in particular, the Khmer art forms. And what Cambodian Living Arts is based on is finding those individuals who somehow managed to avoid Pol Pot and survive. Those people miraculously were found and brought together with young people, and Cambodian Living Arts was born out of that kind of cultural restoration. And it still acts that way now, a lot of other ways too, but among other things, the Khmer Magic Music Bus, a further creation of Arn Chorn Pond, who was the inspired young Cambodian behind Cambodian Living Arts, takes the music of the Khmer tradition with the instruments and dancing and the singing, the songs, out to villages that may not have heard that traditional kind of music for an entire generation. And so when they go out, of course, young kids are delighted. This amazing big blue bus pulls out, and the performers come out and they play music, and the kids are just going wild because they're really good entertainers and they make good music. But the older people, when they hear this, you can just see, these little old ladies who probably don't do very much emoting at all, man, when they hear this music, you can see it. It goes deep. I don't know what it all means, but I want to in some way try to share and help them tell this story, and that's what I'm here for. And this journal recounts on a daily basis what I do about it. And today was a good one. I maybe looking back, riding the bus, I rode the Khmer Magic Music Bus out to a village 5 or 6 days ago, 5 days. But today, I did something kind of cool. I went up to the home of Arn Chornpan, the founder, and we've become friends. I met him for the first time a year ago, but then we traveled together with a very close old friend of mine, is also a very close old friend of Arn's, a really big-hearted American who helped Arn in the very earliest, hardest years find some of those surviving artists and find ways to get some money their way and actually create situations where they could come together and teach young people what they knew and the instruments that they loved. It was my friend that helped Arn do that, and I sort of got to ride on his coattails, and as a result, I've now spent a good amount of time with Arn. We know each other pretty well, and I just just feel blessed to have such a guy like him in my life. And earlier this week, before we went off on the bus, I spent the night at his house, which we don't spend the night at other people's houses very much after childhood. I mean, sleepovers, right? Sleepovers, if we were lucky to live in a kind of situation where it could happen, it was some of the great events of childhood. It's so special to go to someone else's house and spend the night. When you're an adult, you don't do a lot of that. So I did that recently at Arns, and I went up there again today. Not for a sleepover this time, but to do some work that I hope will pay off in the long run. There's a little bit of a story getting there. His place is probably an hour north-ish of Phnom Penh, up along the Mekong River, which is one of the rivers that flows down into Phnom Penh, the huge, mighty river that flows down into Phnom Penh. And we drove up, and I had met the driver that I go out to the airport with was recommended to me by YK Art House people as, a good, reliable driver. He's a smart guy, nice guy, and could speak English. So I've used him before. I've kept in touch with him. Before I come to the city, I email him, and he's there to pick me up at the airport. So that was good. And kind of at the last minute, I decided, okay, yep, I'm going to do this. I don't want to go up in a tuk-tuk. And I called up Tola, didn't call him up. I actually texted him on Facebook Messenger, and he was available, and he came over, and there was a little bit of what I had to do was provide the phone numbers that I had for Deka, and he would, then Tola would call him, they'd speak their Cambodian. Deka speaks some English, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it was just made much more sense to get these complicated directions to have two Cambodians talking. So, but the trouble is that the number that Deka had given me, we couldn't make it connect. I still don't know why. We both, punched in the right number. We couldn't connect there. But I had his sister's number, Sema. She wasn't there, but she was somewhere else. She talked to the driver, gave him enough directions. We got underway. There's not that many bridges over the river, and one way or another, unless you're going to go to Thailand, you got to cross the river. So, and it gets very congested. But anyway, we got out of town, got sailing, and with a few more phone calls, finding the right driveways, I sort of remembered some of the ways from times I've been there before. We made it. And here's what I came for. Deka, who is the brother of Arn's girlfriend, partner, and who I knew, had been getting to know pretty well from a couple of visits. He has been the long-term video documenter person for the whole bus. Before that too, but the bus started, depending on how you want to, date things, by maybe say 2013. Picked up speed later, but to say 2013 till now, Deka has been recording video of every single time that the bus went out to one of these villages and did its thing. Well, I shouldn't say that. I haven't seen an overall spreadsheet that lists every single trip they ever took, and is that really documented on video? I'd like to try to do that. I wish they had estimates of crowd sizes. I'll bet they don't. But anyway, just a little side thing on metrics here. But anyway, there's a lot of video of a lot of Khmer Magic Music Bus trips out into villages as far back as 2013, right up till now, right up to the one that I was on him with this week. And it's kind of straight ahead stuff. It's not, he does what he does, and he wasn't attempting to be a storyteller. He just documented the performing at the villages and at little schools for children, and I guess documenting some of the actual being on the bus riding out to those places, but I'll see. I'll find out. All that's really been done with this video, from what I can see, is to post clips on Facebook. I mean, I don't know what else to do. Well, I have an idea. That's why I'm here. Kind of one of the dimensions of why I'm here is to kind of start a new kind of web TV show that's going to be the story of the bus. The bus story, episodic, ensemble cast. I see season 1 having 10 episodes. Each episode will be the bus going to this village, that village, the next village. So that's kind of a nice little container for each episode. It means there'll be music in every episode. In every episode, we'll see them perform. Just like at the end of Seinfeld, you always saw Seinfeld doing a stand-up comedy. I'm not saying it'll be the ending signature thing the way Seinfeld did, but it's one of the great things about telling a story about musicians is that you got the opportunity to put music in there, and these guys play good music, and you can bring people up and touch moods with sad songs too, and so that's a dimension of it. But also, I want in this TV show, as good ensemble casts shows do, is to go, drill down deeper into the individual life stories and hopes and dreams and difficulties and of some of the Khmer Magic Music Bus musicians, performers. There's some really interesting people. I mean, Arn is amazing, of course. He's not a regular old person that does the things he did, in addition to surviving the killing fields for 4 years as a young boy. Oh, did I mention that? Yes, he was 10 in Battambang when the Khmer Rouge came, and he lived through all those years. He played music. His family was musical. See, it all ties together. Playing the flute, the guards made him do because they wanted music played because it would keep people working and they wouldn't hear the noise of the torture and some of the killing that was going on in the background. I'm not making this up. This is what really happened, and that's why Arn survived. He feels and still feels that music is why he survived, so he wants to help keep Cambodian music alive. But he's, his amazing story and character, like in person, his presence is quite, he's something. There's other strong personalities on the bus also, and other personalities who don't seem maybe at first so strong, but have an amazing story to tell. So that's what I have in mind to do, and today I looked over that video that Decca has been recording all those years. I don't want to say looked over it. I made a really quick look at it. Got that there, yep, this is it. That's what it is. I'm sure there's going to be technical issues. There's going to be things I hope are there and aren't, but other things, who knows? It's a treasure trove. What took most of the time was copying it. He had it nicely organized into folders, 2013, 2014, and I copied them, and they were, in the gigabyte. Copied a couple hundred or more gigabytes today, and even with a good USB, it takes some time. So that's what I did, and as I did, I was sort of hanging out with Decca. Decca met me there at Arn's house. Arn is actually off in the U.S. right now, raising funds, talking to people about Cambodia. And so one thing I did was a 360 video interview with Decca. I don't know. I don't really know how any or all of this stuff is going to be used in my idea of an episodic ensemble cast TV show about the Khmer Magic Music Bus, but I'm just going to keep getting stuff that feels right, and as I then look at it again, if it seems powerful, something I'm going to be able to do with it. And I had the chance to develop more in-depth material about Decca today in this 360 mode, and that's, I have in mind a kind of a program that switches back and forth between video and then into a person, learning more about a person in the 360. I don't know, but I recorded 360 interviewing with him, got about his family and how he feels about the work he does on the bus and what he does, in support of the bus, all that kind of stuff. We'll see. I sure had fun doing it. And now here's the real kicker. See, this is what I haven't said before. I first met Decca a year ago when Al Morgan, my old friend, and I came here. Al to, recapture old acquaintances, me to just check out my 360 camera and see what would happen. And, a lot has happened in Cambodia, and the people here just grabbed me. And I met Decca then, and we kind of liked each other. He's just a likable guy and whatnot, but we couldn't speak really much at all. His English was just not very much there, and I knew no Khmer whatsoever. Well, over the past year, and it's been almost just about exactly a year now, he's been studying English, working hard at it, on top of the work that he has to do, and he has a wife and a small little kid, but he goes back to school with most of the people there much younger than him, so, there's that. But he does it, and he has been learning English. I've helped some contribute, give him some money to the family there to help pay for him to be able to take those English classes. And it turns out, any help that I gave wasn't a gift to him. It was actually a gift to me, because now he can speak English, and so I can hang out with him. And so when I come to Phnom Penh now, not only do I have a friend, I've got a friend I can actually talk with, and we experienced the first benefit of that today. During the time, when we'd go from, start copying 2014 folder, okay, it's going to take another 15 minutes. So, and then we could just sit back and talk. Now, I'm not saying it was like free-flowing, as that would between me and Al Morgan, but we could talk. And we could talk not just at it's a really superficial level. So that was really a neat going around in the circle. I mean, I don't have a whole long tradition of, contributing money to someone to help them get advance and learn more and pay for their education. And I have the time and the ability to do a little bit of that now, and I'm really glad to have been able to do it for Descartes. And everyone always says, the great gift is like, giving and helping someone else. But I got to experience this afternoon in such a direct way how it benefited me, that I could actually talk with my friend here as the files got recorded, and do a little interview with him where he answered kind of meaningful questions in English. So that was what I did, and I had this hope that maybe I'd be able to go up there and copy some video files and whatnot. I didn't really know if the computer that they had even had a USB cable. I didn't know anything. I might have gotten not one scintilla, but instead I actually got a lot of good material, nicely organized, copied efficiently. And while that was happening, the real fun of talking with someone who we've always felt a connection that we can now make much more substantive by being able to talk. And then he'd actually sort of put together a few things and made a lunch. So after we got the work done, it took a couple hours. The driver who'd been hanging out there this whole time, Tola, and Descartes and I kind of sat out on the porch there looking over this little stream, kind of tributary about a mile away from the Mekong. Had a little lunch there. It was kind of nice. And then Tola and I drove back to town. I had a nice dinner tonight. I wonder if that'll be on the motorcycle going by, kind of sputtering here. It's not a loud neighborhood, but I also wouldn't say it's a quiet neighborhood. It's a normally mostly quiet neighborhood punctuated by moments of loudness. And I came back to it in the late afternoon. So I went out to dinner, and then I'm back here now getting things organized. I got a bunch of fun things. Sunday's one of my favorite days here because there's the Cambodian history reading group that I'm part of that I really enjoy. And then after that, there's a Cambodian language learning group where I learn some stuff, and then we all have dinner together afterwards. Enjoy that one. And that's tomorrow, but this is tonight. It's also the end of episode 13, March 3rd, 2018. Signing off from Phnom Penh, Tom Nickel. Bye for now.